And boom, what's happening out there, guys? Welcome along to another episode of Martin's World and 420 News. All over the place here today, guys. Fucking really busy day trying to catch up on a lot of college work that I've been neglecting for the last while and deliver ye some 420 News here as well. So I'm going to just fix my backdrop there because I can see some of my clips. Boom, excellent, sorted. See, lovely green screen there now behind me again. Hope everybody's doing good, guys. I got me some freshly nice grinded herb here. Master wax, apparently. A nice hashy kind of a variety. Something different. And a lovely smell off it, actually, guys. Just freshly grinded as well. Like, so nothing nicer than just a freshly grinded nug. I wish we could share this through smell-o-vision, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, we can't. Hope you're all good out there, guys. I see Daily Toker, Hype, TCK, Mistawa is Alter Ego. Casa de Dragas, John Kelly, and I am Toby. Hope you're all well out there, guys, and welcome along to 420 News. Have a little bit of news there for you today, guys, and before we get stuck into it, just want to give you an update on the charity run that I'm running. We're on day 5 today of the charity run. I haven't gone out and done today as part of the journey, as I said, I was just stuck into my college work all morning, but we will be doing it a little bit later on this evening, closer to 6 o'clock. That will be 5 days of running 14 kilometers a day, leaving us only 25 more days left after this. And we're doing this to raise funds for the Laura Lynn Children's Hospice. And so far today, guys, we've together raised €756. So thanks very much to everybody out there who's helped and to make this possible. Really, I can't thank you enough for your help and support in this campaign. The campaign not only is to raise funds for the Children's Hospice, but it's also to raise awareness as to the needs for medical the access to medical cannabis here in Ireland. The current situation is a paltry here in Ireland. The medical cannabis access program, which is still not fucking active, like, you know what I mean. The 5 years that it's supposed to be running for will be up before there's any patients even signed up to it. Like, it's a joke, like. So nonetheless, over the month I will be raising awareness as always to the needs for access to medical cannabis, and one of the best ways we can get patients the best access to cannabis is by undoing the prohibition around it. The prohibition of cannabis has been the biggest barrier to access to patients, so I think as campaigners, the most effective thing we can do to help the patients out there is to just straight on spearhead the prohibition of cannabis and get it removed. Because as soon as we can have the prohibition of cannabis removed and put proper regulations in place, that's going to free up the professionals out there to work with patients and to put in place like some really good high quality standards and procedures to work with patients. As currently the situation is, patients have to get their cannabis from the streets, you know. As I said, the medical cannabis access program is a joke. The ministerial licensing pathway, that's another joke. I think there's like only over 50 odd patients in Ireland currently getting access through the ministerial license. Absolutely, it's not acceptable, especially given the what we're seeing over in America, the benefits that access to cannabis is giving over there to patients from all sorts of different conditions. So we need that here for Ireland, and hopefully it'll be brought here sooner rather than later. What's going on out there, Green? Amazing cause, Martin. Top man, can I donate to it by super chat? Unfortunately, you won't be able to do it through the super chat, but what you can do is through iDonate on Facebook. There's 2 easy ways there to donate. iDonate is probably the easiest one, idonate.com. If you go and check the video I put up there of the day 2 update, there's a link in the description of that video. And on iDonate, you can make a donation using things like PayPal and stuff like that. So it's nice and simple for you. Unfortunately, if you donate through the super chats, that's just going to take a bit of a process before I actually get my hands on the money and can donate it then into the to the donation fund. I haven't actually gotten any money out of the super chats yet because they were waiting on me to actually enter this here, which is some sort of a password thing they had to mail to me to verify my address. But those funds should be released there now over the next while, and I believe through the super chats that I've generated maybe 50 or 60 euro, which is excellent, like, you know, and I'll put that together with the other funds that I've received there in the donations, and it'll be put together or put to good use through allowing me to, again, the protests that I'll be doing, and also the setting up of the Cannabis Activist Hub here very soon, hopefully. So thanks very much, everybody who has supported the show there through those means. So other news out there, guys. The Anti-Smuggling Agency to seize more drugs than 2020, long before the end of 2021. That was a headline that made the news there today. And again, inside that is a guy whose name has popped up a couple of times before on the show. He's the head of MOAC, which is the Maritime Analysis and Operations Centre, who are based in Lisbon. He's an Irishman by the name of what is his name? I don't have it down here actually, but yeah, I've mentioned him on the show before. He was once a cop, and then after, I suppose, he left his role as the cop, he went on to work with these guys in MOAC. What's his name? I'm just trying to find his fucking name, not that it really even matters. Michael O'Sullivan, that's the guy. He was a former assistant Garda commissioner. So again, like, you see these guys climbing up through the career ladders, like, really, and benefiting themselves, but really, do you see the headline here? And even within the article, like, he's highlighting how he's failed at his job over the last 20, 30 years. Do you know, he's worked on the street as a Garda drug detective in his earlier years. He climbed up through the ranks, the Garda commissioner, and now he's working with this Marine Analysis and Operations Centre in Lisbon, who've been part of some of the massive busts of late, including the one that happened in Ringaskiddy there back in February. You know, back in February there was, I believe it was about 4 million or 12 million worth of cocaine that was seized at the port in Ringaskiddy here in Cork. But I'd wonder, like, you know, given the recent bust that happened, you know, over in, was it in Belgium there not too long ago? They seized, like, fucking, was it €500,000 or €1 billion worth of cocaine or something? Some crazy amount of cocaine anyway that was seized in the port of Belgium there not too long ago. But it kind of made me think, like, you know, they seized 12 million in Ringaskiddy, okay? Like, is there possible corruption here in this? Like, because these MOAC guys, they need to get results. The drug dealers, they need to get their drugs to the streets. So if you're a smart drug dealer, you know, and you're going to be moving, say, billions of euros worth of cocaine, wouldn't it be worthwhile to maybe kind of offload 12 million worth of that cocaine, you know, as a decoy? You get on to the likes of Michael O'Sullivan there at the MOAC, and you say, come here, look, there's a boat coming in there on such and such a date, and it's going to have 12 million worth of cocaine in it. But little does Michael know that the boat coming in before that one, or maybe after that one, has actually got 100 million or even €1 billion worth of cocaine on it. So, like, it's like, you wonder, like, you know, and we the public are none the wiser, because the Gardaí, they paraded all that cocaine, they took their photos, they got their media day out, they give themselves the massive pat in the back, you know, operation well done. And we the public, like, a lot of us fall for it and thinking, you know, you see the post, well done Gardaí, great to get that filth off the street and all of this kind of nonsense. But really, like, as I said, like, there's probably 100 million to €1 billion more worth of cocaine got in either side of that shipment, and that shipment could have been just a slight little decoy. Where, again, like, you know, Michael O'Sullivan, whether he be complicit or what in it, I don't know, but he could have got a backhander. You know, here's an old brown envelope there, Michael, you know, a nice little retirement package there for you. Really, like, and like they say, like, a crime doesn't pay. Like, who says that? Like, in fairness, like, in 2020, the value of the drug trade in Europe, it was estimated at being 13 billion. And that represented a jump of 50% on the previous year. So, like, despite the pandemic and all of that shit going on and the economic downturn as a result of that, the drugs trade has gone up. Like, it's doubled its value, you know. 13 billion, a 50% jump on the previous year. Like, crazy. You know, and your man Michael O'Sullivan then actually expects that to increase at the same rate over the coming year. As he says, demands and prices increase due to the pandemic. He also said that the increase in seizures across Europe and here in Ireland illustrates how demand for cocaine is growing at an alarming rate. But what he doesn't go on to say is how, like, they are failing to stop these drugs reaching the people who are looking for them. You know, the Europol and those drug agencies across Europe, they say that they can hope only ever to maybe stop 10 to 20% of the drugs reaching the street. meaning 80 to 90% of the drugs are reaching the street. So therefore, the policymakers are failing the people who are consuming these drugs, because those people need protections. They need protections around the quality assurance of the drug supply. You know, if we were to look at the harms of alcohol, and in the morning we banned alcohol, you know, we would be failing the many people out there who responsibly use alcohol, because those people are now putting in much more harm's risk from their alcohol consumption, and not because they're abusing it, but because the source of their alcohol is unregulated and unchecked, you know. There's no quality assurance in place. Imagine how many more kids would be hospitalised if kids could go and buy alcohol from a guy on the street, because there is no outlet for adults to get it. So therefore, the adults then who still continue to consume alcohol, even despite it being prohibited, they're now supporting a market where kids are being recruited into it, not only as consumers, but as people who will actually run and sell those drugs. You know, so why isn't Michael talking about this? In all these years of work within the trade, you know, as a guard, as a guard, whatever he was, you know, you think he would be able to see this, like, come on, like, surely my brain isn't addled because of smoking too much cannabis or something, that it's damaged, and these are all stupid ideologies that I have, like there's too many of you out there agreeing with me on what I'm saying, like, for that to be true. Do you know that my thoughts are nonsense? Like, really, like, a lot more of us disagree with Michael and their approach. There's a lot more of us out there, but unfortunately the public policy isn't reflective of the public's opinion. And again, you look at the media's role in that, and you wouldn't be, you'd understand why that would be. Do you know, if you were to believe what's going out in the media, you would think the public opinion is kind of against these things happening. But actually, when you look at the kind of the posts that go up there on the various social media outlets, kind of being anti-cannabis, anti-drugs and stuff like that, by and large, people are very supportive of the decriminalisation of the drug user and the regulation of the drug supply. By and large, people are, like, you do definitely still get the kind of the old school mentality, you know, bring all those drug users out to the island and shoot them. That's the best thing for them. I actually had that conversation there not too long ago with my uncle. My uncle, who's I won't kind of give his profession or whatever, like, but I had a heated discussion with him before around voting, because he voted, I believe, for the Fianna Fáil party, and I was like, oh yeah, well, what do you vote for them for? Like, and he was like, I just always vote for them. I was like, but what do you like about their policies? Is there anything there that you like? Is there anything you can point to why you voted for them? Is there, like, something about the candidate you like? No, I just vote Fianna Fáil all my life, and that's how I vote. And I was like, all right, well, I was talking with that uncle there about 2 weeks ago, I believe, when I was up in my nan's, and he brought up the fucking eating with the enemy, and he was just like, oh, what did you achieve? You know what I mean? Like, what did you achieve? And he was sitting there now half drunk as well, like my dad, like, so it's just kind of hilarious, like, when you think of the discussion that unfolded and afterwards, because for me, I was just like, well, I got my voice heard, I got to express myself, and for me, that was beneficial. I said, like, yeah, I haven't changed policy, but I was like, I'm out there, I'm standing up for myself, and I'm speaking out for myself, and for me, that brings a lot of benefit internally. I said that the change will come as long as I'm just consistent and keep that up. And he was just like, oh yeah, but like, your man, yeah, what was he kind of saying? He was like, oh, I kind of agree with you on the cannabis, but like, when it comes to the other drugs, like, he goes, what do you think about them? And I was like, well, all drug users should be treated with compassion, and that drugs use should be decriminalised, because, and I pointed at his younger son, who's about 16, 17, and a big fucking strapping lad. And I was like, you know, the drugs being illegal, I was like, your young fella here is going to be recruited into it. And I goes, look at the size of him. I goes, he's a lovely candidate for a drug dealer, because he's a big, tough looking lad, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's an enforcer, effectively. That's kind of a guy that the lads on the streets are looking for, you know what I mean? The 6 foot fucking 300-pound young fellas, like, who can throw their weight around a little bit, in fairness, like. And he just couldn't buy it. Like, he was just like, no, it doesn't work, And I was just like, when you buy your pints at the pub, I was like, are you worried that you're going to get a contaminated pint? And he was like, no. And I goes, yeah, regulation works. I was like, can your young fella walk into that pub and buy alcohol? He was like, no. It was because regulation works. I goes, is that pub going to recruit your young fella and get him to start selling their drink to his friends? No, because regulation works. And no, and I ended up having to just kind of leave the discussion alone. My nan was kind of intervening, and she was just like, "Look, lads, look, just disagree to disagree," because she thought it was getting a bit kind of. I was taking her on in my stride. I love this stuff. And my uncle was kind of like getting very bad because it got to the point where he was like, "No, we have to bring them all out and kill them." And I was just kind of like, whoa. And I think that's where my nan started intervening, because even she didn't agree with that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, just interesting conversation that happens there with people, like, you know. But we'll drive on because a bit of a tangent there on that one. But the next headline is a really annoying one then as well, because going from the last one where, you know, there's more drugs being seized than ever before. And a lot of that is cannabis as well. We look at this one where a terminally ill hairdresser is given a suspended sentence for growing her own cannabis plants to help with her sickness. And her seizure would be used by the likes of Michael O'Sullivan, unashamedly so, to prop up their work and their campaigns, you know, because this is another successful case here now. They successfully went in and targeted a criminal who was growing drugs. The authorities, they don't care that this woman was terminally ill, that these plants contained compounds which would have alleviated some of the conditions that she was suffering from because of her terminal illness. You know, they don't care about this. They care about, oh, we got cannabis plants. Cannabis plants are illegal. Slap that onto the numbers there at the end of the year, and fuck all of these terminally ill patients. We don't give a shit about them. We're just doing our job. We're not paid to care. We're paid to just do our job, and our job is to walk and trample all over the rights of individuals out there. Human rights, you know what I mean? Everyone has human rights to protect themselves. This woman has terminal illness, and cannabis was providing her a better quality of life. She was defending herself. She was defending her quality of life by growing some plants. Like such a non-violent action, and to be dealt with in such an appalatory fucking way. Like, really, when you think about it, like. This woman was 44 by the name of Lisa Middleton, and she suffers with chronic health conditions including heart failure, and used to purchase cannabis from a dealer to help with the symptoms. She says after money got tight, she planted her own seeds, 5 plants in total, and around 24 baby ones. So 5 adult plants, actually, sorry, and 24 baby ones, strictly for personal consumption, she says. She said that she knew it was against the law, but was at rock bottom and felt that she had no other options and needed to control her pain. But just 8 weeks in, she was raided by dozens of cops and up to 10 police cars, and she was arrested and locked up for 6 hours before questioning. And this is a case from the UK as well, I believe. It took the police 20 months to charge her with production. Yeah, it's definitely the UK. With production of a Class B drug, and she was sentenced to 2 years and 5 months after she was caught. And now with an 18-month suspended sentence to her name, she said her life has been destroyed by the pointless conviction. What I did was entirely victimless. And she's from Sheffield in South Yorkshire, and she says she intends to appeal the sentence. She said it was the first time I had grown it, and I had 5 adult plants and a lot of babies from which I was going to keep the most healthy ones. And that's a very common technique used by gardeners. You would sow multiple seeds, and you would pick the most vigorous then of that bunch to go on and grow out fully, because you're not going to grow the sickly looking ones, because they're probably not going to really respond well. You're going to grow, like, if you wanted 4 really good plants, you might grow 10 seeds, or you might even grow 20, depending on what you have at hand. So it is a very common technique there used by gardeners in order to ensure a much better yield, and much more effective use of their time. Again, something to be taken into consideration in conversations as to the limiting of personal freedoms of growing cannabis plants. Again, if you restrict the number of plants that a person can grow to 2, to 3, to 4, well, this restricts in the ability of that grower to effectively grow that plant. Because, as I said, you know, if you want to get some good stock, well, you're going to have to grow a couple of seeds in order to find those vigorous genetics within the bunch. You know, so Lisa goes on to say that if I had been done for using it, it would have just been a slap on the wrist. She says, if you are a single woman with health problems, you are putting yourself at serious risk every time you have to go to someone's house. And she says, it's usually a man, to buy cannabis. She says, you don't know who they are or what they are about. You are in the hands, and I don't know, you are in their hands, and I don't know if you are going to walk out alive. And that is what I have to do now. What I did was entirely victimless, she says. I am disgusted that I am apparently a criminal. I am a very moral person with high standards. I regularly donate to charity and organise fundraising events, and I donate regular meals to the homeless. Now I feel like all my good is overshadowed by having the stigma of being a low-life criminal. I am fighting for the conviction as far as I can, and we have asked the judge to look again at my sentence. There is no reason why I should have been in the same system as murderers and rapists. There are police convicted of child sex offences that got less of a sentence than I did. She started to grow because it was more cheaply, and she was doing it again, to protect herself. This was a means to defending herself, and it's for many reasons. The quality of cannabis, but the dangers there of buying cannabis from strangers, going into a stranger's house in order to pick up cannabis. You don't know what's going to happen there. They're all crazy to think, like. So I wish her the best of luck in this as she goes on. She kind of added on a bit more. She says that this is the most damaging experience that she has ever had to endure. She says, I've used cannabis for medical purposes to help with pain management, mental health and circulation for the last 5 years. I wouldn't be able to function without it, and there is no legal alternative available to me. I started growing because suddenly I had no money and it felt safer than buying it. And this is very important there too, because she says there is no legal alternative available to her. But currently in the UK there is through private prescription, but sometimes for a lot of patients that is quite a costly way to go down, and it ends up being cheaper to get it on the black market. I think there's efforts now to turn that around, but that was the case for quite a long time. And still there is difficulty with patients getting access to these private clinics because some of their doctors won't sign off on what they need. Some patients get a lot of stigma there when they go talk to their doctor to get their doctor to sign off on their condition, saying that they suffer with a certain condition, and they can go and get a private prescription for cannabis through that. But some patients are finding it difficult to get that. Lisa goes on to say that she said that it was so frightening. The whole process has really damaged me, and I was talking about the trial that she had to endure. She says, I just can't comprehend how it took them so long, and I will live with the consequences for the rest of my life because I don't think I can start up now again. I have no previous convictions or dealings with the police. Before all this, I thought I had the perfect life. I had worked hard and felt like I had achieved a dream. I was so proud of myself. My booming business was my sanctuary and my safe place when I left my husband of 16 years and had no home to go to. Lisa was given an 18-month suspended sentence, a 20-day rehabilitation requirement, and 100 hours of community service. What a shame, what a disservice. What a bunch of ignorant clowns within inside in that court system to do this to such a terminally ill woman, crazy. Like, these people have no compassion. These measures around the misuse of drugs, the prohibition of drugs, they were put in place because of so-called public health concerns, because they're a danger to public health or whatever. But in this situation, they were beneficial to this woman's health. In many situations before the courts, there's been time and time again shown that cannabis has been beneficial for the people being charged with it. But despite this, they continue to be criminalised. This has got to change, and the well-able of us out there, the people in the cannabis community that are not sick and are not suffering from any conditions, we need to come out of the closet. We need to come out in large numbers, because we have a massive community out there. There is a massive community of closeted stoners, and like the gay community before us, when the gay community came out of the closet, they got respect. The stigma around them has started to be shattered, while there still is a bit of gay bashing going on in our society, it's nowhere near the level that it was at 20, 30 years ago, when we would have had so many more closeted gay people because of that stigma that existed. Well, we now need to come out of the closet, and that will in turn just literally smash that stigma that is there. And together then we can overcome the fear and the hurdles that are there. We can achieve something like what was achieved in New York, where no longer employers can discriminate against employees who use cannabis outside of work. That's something we can achieve. That is entirely within within the possibilities of us here in Ireland, and all it's going to take is just people to get out from behind the keyboards. Just get out, organise your own protests. Like, literally, we need to have as many protests now. Like, this is going to be an outdoor summer, as Micheál Martin said, and we need as many protests right across the summer in as many towns, cities, villages right across the island of Ireland. Coming up on the 11th of May is going to be one in Cork, but I will talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But like that, as I say, we just need to come out of the closet, guys, and fly the flag loud and proud. There we go, Greenbird. Nice one for that, man. 100% by. And we drive on then, guys, because I want to touch off of an article that was sent to me by so many people there yesterday, that cannabis is the gravest threat to the mental health of young people. That was a headline that was repeated a number of times on a number of different outlets out there, and it was spreading the misinformation, the propaganda of this individual here, Jerry McCannery or something or other. And you see him here with this fucking stupid look on his face, like, like, I don't know what his story is like, and what the crack is with this guy, and why he's after coming out now with such a staunch anti-cannabis position, and is trying to fearmonger parents around cannabis, because really, like, the gravest threat to the mental health of young people today is it's not cannabis at all. That there was a far better response there by Garrett McGovern in another article that said, no, it's not. It's COVID is the gravest threat currently to the mental health of young people, not cannabis. And well done, Garrett McGovern, for sharing those views in that article. That was a kind of a counter article that came out, and it was from the leading addiction specialist, as he's described here, and he describes the headline as sensationalist. And he says that the College of Psychiatrists of Ireland has warned that the cannabis use among adolescents has tripled in the past decade, and warned of a wide-ranging mental health issues associated with its use. And he said it's a claim that cannabis use is the gravest threat to young people. It's completely it's misinformation. It's not true at all. He says, or the article went on to say that the group has launched a new awareness campaign called Cannabis and Your Mental Health, looking at its use in Ireland, the general risks and its effect on mental health. It also warned that the drug is the gravest use to young people's mental health in Ireland due to its wide use and the spike in potency levels. However, addiction specialist Garrett McGovern disagreed with this assertion, and believes that currently COVID-19 is the biggest threat to the mental health of all young people today. I'm not seeing what they're saying, he says. I have to say, and I don't work with he says, I don't work with adolescents, I work with over 18s. But I do treat a bit of cannabis addiction in a reasonable amount, but it's not up there with alcohol, heroin or cocaine. He says, my initial response when I read it was that it was somewhat sensationalist in the sense that it claimed it is the gravest threat to young people's mental health. I would argue that COVID-19 is the biggest threat to everyone at the moment. That is my own belief, added McGovern, and who works in a private practice with the HSE's addiction services team. It also says it's more serious than alcohol. That just isn't true at all. The evidence is there are still far too many young people suffering from harms from alcohol there's still far too many people in general. I also don't think we can talk about legalisation without talking about regulation behind cannabis. If THC is on the rise, I would argue strongly to change the current paradigm and maybe regulating this. Dr. McGovern said he was astounded by the claims that children as young as 8 were smoking cannabis, and that this was not something he had come across in working with families in disadvantaged areas. He also said that the current system wasn't protecting people, and that the blanket ban on prohibition, or the blanket prohibition, isn't working at all. He says, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that we should open the floodgates. He says, what we need is regulation, but I feel that this has been left out of the debate today in articles and on the radio. There's no doubt we don't want young people taking cannabis, but at the moment, I don't think we are protecting them. He says last December, Gardaí said that people found with cannabis for personal use would be issued with an adult caution rather than being charged. But Dr. McGovern said that most people would agree that somebody shouldn't be left with a criminal record for simple possession. So he's bang on there, like with that. COVID currently is the gravest threat to the mental health of young people out there, followed closely by the current recession that we're facing. You know, then followed closely by the appalling access that there is out there currently to mental health services. You know, with another headline that was I came across, where some 2,736 children were on the waiting list for the child adolescent mental health services as of December, and an increase of more than 400 on December 2019. The number waiting over 12 months for services rose from 212 in 2019 to 266 a year later. So there's kids out there. There's almost 300 kids out there who are waiting over a year to get access to services just for a simple assessment on their mental health. Like, crazy. Like, and these doctors would have you believe that cannabis is the gravest risk. No, it's a lack of access to services. It's the fucking ongoing COVID pandemic. It's the fact that how many young people out there will never ever own their own home. They're forever going to be burdened with having to rent property from some of these foreign investment funds that are coming in, buying up massive swaths of property and then renting it back to our own people at extortionate rates. You know, the level of suicides and all of that shit that went up there in time at the time of the recession. You know, after the 2008 recession, you know, cannabis wasn't to blame for that. And again here, like, you know, that this is going on again. There's got a recession right now, and there's going to be a lot of mental health problems there. And it's not just going to be the older generations, it's going to be the younger generations too. Because if you're a young teenager growing up in a house where your mum and dad have just lost their job because of the pandemic, and your way of life has changed, your mum and dad can't go out and afford to buy you the things that they used to do. You know, maybe you have to give up one of your extracurricular activities. You can no longer go horse riding, or you can't go to fucking jiu-jitsu or something. You know, you have to drop one of those classes there because your family can't afford to bring you to those things. Like, and no, it's cannabis is the gravest threat to your kids' mental health. Jog on, you fucking clowns. Like, in fairness, I wonder then, like, when you think of it, like, you know, Jerry, like, and his stupid look on his face there, like, I wonder, is his article at all anything to do there with the upcoming bill that's going to be published later this year by Gino Kenny? Because really, like, there has been an upregulation of the amount of propaganda that's coming out against cannabis there lately. And again, Gino Kenny announced was that at the end of last year that he was going to be putting forward his bill later this year. I wonder, is there anything there to do with that? Where's the money coming from to fund the work of this good dude, Jerry? Do you know, where's the money coming from to fund this message that's going out there? Follow the money. I would imagine there's probably a bit of money coming in there from maybe some of the pharmaceutical companies, maybe from some of the addiction services, and maybe some other people who have a vested interest in this area to keep drugs illegal, because by keeping drugs illegal, they benefit. You know, if you're a young person and you get caught with drugs, well, that's going to be seen as drug abuse. Whereas if you're a young person and you get caught with alcohol, well, you're just a young person who gets caught with alcohol and you get brought home to your mum and dad, and it's not really seen as alcohol abuse. It's just a young person who's using alcohol before they're allowed to use it. Because when you're 18, you're allowed to use alcohol, and it's not abuse then unless you engage in a certain type of alcohol consumption, then it's abuse. But with cannabis, all cannabis use currently, when it's illegal, is abuse, as seen by the likes of this doctor. If you're using cannabis illegally, you are abusing cannabis, and that's the current way they look at it. And this is why we've got all these flawed logics and these flawed reports, because they talk about it was like 1 in 3 people end up developing what they're now calling cannabis dependence. It's not even cannabis addiction anymore. It's cannabis dependence. That's what they're going for now. And nice one there for that, Mustafa, as he says, fake prohibition and does the support that. Yeah, man, fake 'em really hard. But yeah, you know, I kind of lost my train of thought there, actually. Yeah, it's gone. But anyway, these things happen. But, you know, as I say, I wonder, does this have anything to do with Gino Kenny's bill? I think something stinks there anyway, but it's good. I welcome these guys to the debate. Guys, you know, Jerry, if you ever want to come on the Martin's World show there and engage in a conversation, point out all of the flaws in my logic, I'm a very open-minded guy, man. I'll sit down here and have a very respectful and civil conversation with you, man. I'll respect your views as long as you respect mine too, and we can go back and forward on things, and we'll see what happens as a result. But you know, if you want to just go on to the media and speak out in your little echo chamber, go for it, man. Unchallenged, as you will. Maybe respond there to Dr. Garrett McGovern. I'm sure he would have a few things to say with your thoughts and opinions as well. But you'd be too afraid to do that because there's too many holes in your argument for you to come on stage and to debate these things publicly. So you never will you? Fucking scumbags. And you know how out of touch this dude actually is, your man Jerry, with his stupid looking face. Yeah, there he is again. This guy actually went on to say that cannabis is not expensive and that €20 a week would enable a person to use it every day. €20 a week, guys. Is there anybody out there who can get cannabis for €20 a week and that affords them a daily consumption? What are you doing? Are you taking out literally a crumb? You can't even see what's on my hand. You see that? Is that what you're smoking a day? If it's costing you 20 a week? In fairness, this fool is a sausage. Just that alone is why we shouldn't. I don't know. I kind of give credit to anything that he says because you can't believe anything. If this is what he believes, then this guy is just an outright idiot on this topic anyway, at least. So we'll say no more about them except in response to them actually, because these guys are coming out of the mental health field, the psychiatry field. And what are they saying over in Canada? Because over in Canada, they've legalized cannabis. Well, in Canada, the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health had very positive things to say about cannabis and cannabis legalization. The Centre for Addiction and Mental Health in Canada is Canada's leading mental health and addiction teaching hospital, and they've advocated for reform of Canada's system of cannabis control. In 2004, they released a cannabis policy framework recommending a public health approach to cannabis, where they examined the evidence around the risks and harms associated with cannabis use, and they concluded that legalization accompanied by strict health-focused regulation is the most promising means of reducing those risks and harms. They went on to say that for those reasons, we are pleased that Canada is moving ahead with an approach to cannabis that has public health and safety at its core. Now, this was a statement that they released in 2018. That was, I think it was a year after Canada legalised. I think that was the year Canada legalised. I think was 2018. But they said that there is still much work to be done. They said to achieve the objective of keeping people safe, especially young people, it is critical that cannabis policy be designed and maintained with health and safety as the primary and overriding objective. There is also a need to ensure that public knows about the risks involved in cannabis use and how to reduce them. It will also be important that the new system be monitored and evaluated, and that we be prepared to alter course if necessary. And the CAMH remains committed to working with our partners in the months ahead. So that was a statement that they released. So a much more open-minded approach and a much more, a much more compassionate way of looking at things. And there's change in that. It's not the same old. Oh, drugs are bad, don't do drugs, put out warnings about drugs and continue to support the prohibition. They're like, no, actually the prohibition has failed, and they acknowledge the changes there and putting in policies that have at the heart of them harm and risks reduction, harm and risks reduction. Yeah, in terms of risks to the users who are adults, but also to kids by putting in place, things like age limits. Fair play to them, a much more sensible approach there from the Canadians in regard to this. And again, this is the Canadians' Addiction and Mental Health Centre. So I don't know what the story is here. These guys need to come over here and speak with our kind of mental health specialists, because they haven't the notion. They really fucking haven't. And that's going to bring me then to my last bit of news there for you today, guys. And it is that on the 11th of May, I will be holding a protest in Cork City. So this is yesterday week. So this is in less than 6 days, guys, in Cork City on the 11th of May at 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. as the same location as the past event. The past event there was outside of the Cork City Library. And yeah, guys, come on down. Let's protest, but let's celebrate as well and remember Bob Marley on the day. We'll play some of his tunes. We'll remember the guy and what he'd done and all he's done for cannabis. You know, he was a great advocate of cannabis, and he was always very outspoken about it, you know. And I have a few pieces there actually that I wanted to play for you, a clip that you might or might not have seen. I'm not too sure, but I think it's very worthwhile in hearing it, because it's coming from 1979. 1979, like that's how long ago that Bob Marley was talking about cannabis and it being the healing of the nation, and you know, and it being his human right to consume it. That's a long time ago, you know, and here we are 40 years later now since this man passed away, and still we're fighting for the legalization of this plant, which plays a big part of the Rastafarian religion, you know. And I would love to be able to explore that more. And yeah, we have to get out there on the 11th of May now. We have to protest in honour of Bob Marley for a plant that he was so outspoken about. So without further ado, guys, I'll give you Bob Marley, who's going to join and give a couple of words there for Martin's World. Welcome to the show, Bob.
The more you accept herb is the more you accept Rastafari. You dig what I say? We who accept herb herb is important, but herb is more important to the people who don't accept it yet, because that is a reality. I mean, it's not selling selling is something that you crave, but you check it in your sense and say, herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Why these people who want to do so much good for everyone, who call themselves governments and this and that, why them say you must not use the herb? You see? And we check that and we can't find, we just see them just say, no, you mustn't use it because it make you rebel.
Rebel against what?
Against what?
Go on, Bob.
Against men who won't crave, because them crave for the things like selling. Them have some material things and them want to captivate your mind and tell you, say, well, you have to work and put you on pension and him keep it all. So herb make you look for yourself, and instead of you want to work for the man, you want to be one of the man too. Not in the sense of how him is, but in the sense of why should you have to bow to these things.
Do you have to smoke to be a Rasta?
No, man. But
What?
in this time, I mean, like, for instance, you're reaching a sense where you're strong enough, can take a little smoke. So when all them car pass, although you live in the city, you don't hear it because you're thinking. Differently if you just live so. Then, you know what I mean, the whole world confused you and you're worried and you don't have no time to think. And herb is a thing that give you a little time for yourself so you can live, if you use it.
What about alcohol?
Alcohol make you drunk, man. It don't make you meditate, it just make you drunk. When you drink alcohol, you don't meditate. You're more get-headed. Herb is more a consciousness.
It must create problems for you, though, when you go different parts of the world where perhaps it's outlawed, as it were.
Well, it's just like what we're saying, is that I don't care. This is the people who make it outlaw, it's but a few. Majority of the people on the earth want it. And it's just a few because guns and prisons and bad life treat you bad. So people kind of... But we want some people power. And the only people power is Rastafari.
Essentially, Marley's a quiet man. A difficult man to reach because he's got no interest in the hype vibe, which preoccupies so many rock stars. He upset many New Zealand journalists by refusing interviews. Not because of a sudden whim, but because really he isn't interested in that type of thing.
Media. You see, if I run a newspaper, I would do a lot of interviews because what I want to say, I would get it across. But when I talk to someone who have to go to someone, and then I'm hesitant to fit up their business, and if it's too militant, them try to spread a type of propaganda. I mean, media, you know, the media, you know, media is a different game. Media is a media control.
You were badly hurt once because of what seemed to be some sort of political type shooting in your home country, Jamaica. Do you see dabbling in politics a good idea for someone in your position?
Well, is it dabbling in politics? I don't know what that is. You see, stand up and talk for my rights. I know what that is. See? And I don't care who the guy is. Because my right is my right, like my life. You know? All I have is my life. That means if I can say, I don't want that or I don't want this. When I check it out, the biggest man was a baby one time. So I don't know where him get all of these big ideas, want to be rulers over people. You see? And help enforce devilism. Can't dig it. Can't take it. We're rebel, man. We're revolutionaries, you know?
Is that the way you'd see yourself?
Yeah, I see myself as a revolutionary.
Yeah, man.
Who don't have no help and not take no bribe from no one to fight it single-handed with music. Rasta is the future. See?
Yes.
Yes. Rasta is the future, Skin.
And how fucking right was he? Like, Rasta is the future. Like, look how much his culture has grown since he's passing. Like, the man is a fucking legend. In fairness, like, listening to that, like, as long ago as that was recorded, you know, he was a guy born way before his time, did you know? Really, when you think about it, that way of thinking, you know, like what he was thinking about with the cannabis and the herb, like it's the healing of a nation, like, you know, and alcohol is the destruction. You know what I mean? When you're drunk, you can't meditate. You're not present. You don't think. You're going to work for the man. You know what I mean? You're going to do your 9 to 5 so you can go and get drunk on the weekends, and you go and fucking rinse, wash, and repeat. You know, live, die, or what is it? Yeah, live, obey, and consume. Whatever it is. Obey, consume, die. Yeah, that's the fucking one. Whereas cannabis, it opens up your mind. It makes you more present. It makes you meditate, as he says. Like, you don't get distracted by some of the other bullshit that's out there. Like, and it makes you focus on some of the things that are more important, yeah. And it might make you question some of the things that aren't important, yeah. So, such as like working a meaningless job to achieve a meaningless pay, when meanwhile, like, you're actually an artist inside, like, and you should let that go, like, or whatever it might be with that person. Like, you know, you often hear of people dropping out of college because of cannabis, but did they actually drop out of college because of cannabis, or did the cannabis give them a realization that their direction in life wasn't right, and they forked, they went a different direction, and that was thanks to cannabis? And they're dropping out of college, maybe they went on into entrepreneurship, set up businesses as a result of that. You know, so Bob Marley, man, he was spot on, like, and as I said, like, 40 years, he's going to be dead now on the 11th of May. That was recorded back in 1979. But he's spot on. Like, cannabis is illegal because of the want and desire to control us and our way of thinking, you know, because cannabis is so fucking beneficial to us. I see so many comments coming in there from people about using cannabis for chronic pain, using cannabis to deal with muscle issues, to help them go lift weights and everything. Like, cannabis is so beneficial for us. So if you can keep that away from us, well, we're going to be more reliant then on the governments, the pharmaceuticals, and all of that bullshit. You know, we're going to be less engaged with our own present thoughts. So maybe those are the real reasons why cannabis is illegal, as opposed to any real dangers to society. Maybe it's more of a danger to the capitalist system, because people would be like Bob Marley, like he was very kind of anti possessions, you know what I mean? He wasn't big on all these materialistic possessions, you know. I believe he's dying words were something on the lines of money can't buy life, You know, like he was just a great mind, and it's really sad that he's not with us anymore. But still, he's left with us through his music, through his words. There's still a vibration. You know what I mean? Positive vibration too. That be of Bob Marley going on out there, and it'll live on, and it'll always live on through us in the cannabis community, because that's where he's by and large mostly a heart. Well, obviously within the music community too, because his music is fucking amazing. But obviously he's just such an iconic piece of cannabis culture, like Bob Marley. So you know, God bless there, Bob, and rest in peace, bud. We will be out flying a flag on in your honor on the 11th of May. So I hope people can come, guys. And guess what? On the 10th of May, we're all allowed to leave our counties. So guys, if you want to come to a protest in Cork, come on down. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, you just follow the health and safety guidelines, keep your 2 meters apart, do your socially distant shit. But let's protest. Let's get out there and fight for cannabis legalisation. I see hashtag Talk to Vera trending again over there on Twitter, again reinforcing that there is a massive desire out there within the public. Obviously on Twitter, you know, that you can't take too much from that, but still, did they get something trending on Twitter? It takes a lot of people. There's a lot of support there from the public. Why won't the politicians give this fucking issue the proper engagement that it needs? They're always shying away from it. Your man Frank Fian with his engagement with the Cannabis Risk Alliance, while ignoring the entire cannabis fucking community. The countless individuals who contact him daily, and he ignores them. He never engages with us. We're all drug abusers, like, so why would he? So let's get out from our cannabis closets and let's go out and protest on the 11th of May. This is just going to be one of many protests I'll be holding in Cork and across Ireland over the summer. So I hope to see people there. If you can't make it this time, obviously it's going to be on a Tuesday, the 11th of May. So there will be other protests that will be held on, say, weekends if you're working and shit like that during the week. But this is just one of many, so do stay tuned to further shows to make sure you're up to date and all of that stuff, and subscribed and followed in all of my various social media outlets as well, because I'm not stopping, guys. I'm not stopping. I have a court case coming up myself as well on next week, Thursday week, on the 13th of May. I'm back in court for the €10 worth of cannabis, where I got a €400 fine and a conviction. I appealed it, and I'm back in court now for my appeal. And to be very honest, like it's been very hard for me. I'm doing a college course at the moment, and I would sit down to do my college work, and next the thought would come into my head of court, and then I'm thinking about activism, and before I know it, I'm not doing my college work anymore. I'm doing something else. I'm being productive in another area, but it's like I'm not doing the thing I set out to do initially, because my mind has been distracted because of the issue there of a looming court date. It's really lighting the fire under my ass now to be more active, making more noise, like, because I'm feeling the effects of it again more directly. Making me responding in kind, like, which is taken away. Like, they talk about the mental health effects, like, but if I can't focus on my college work, like, and I'm focused on this other shit that I don't really want to be focused on, but I feel like I have to, but for needs of self-preservation, that's kind of where I'm at now. Like, I don't want to be locked up. I don't want to be put behind bars, but like the judge has that power to do this to me, and the politicians have given him this power. And I've been doing my best over the last fucking 13 years to change that. I haven't been successful because I've been by and large ignored. And at times, like, our current Lord Mayor, actually, the scumbag that he is, your man Joe Kavanagh here in Cork, like, I reached out to help for him when I got out of prison, when I was probably at my lowest, and I reached out to a lot of people through social media. I put up a post up there in the public sphere, like, not an easy thing for people to do, and I kind of poured my heart out to him, hoping that the guy might have had a bit of compassion and kind of engaged with me a bit more positively. He ignored me until a point where somebody who said that I was just looking for attention and trying to throw his good name under the bus or some shit like this. And then your man Joe Kavanagh, our current Lord Mayor, came back, commented to your man saying, "Well said." And I'm just like, oh my God, like, this guy wouldn't even respond to what was a very valid question I put before him, and pointing out how I was affected by a prohibition. And it was like, yeah, well said to this guy who was completely discriminating against me and my views and opinions, and engaging in the democratic process. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you know, and this guy is the Lord Mayor now. And I have a protest planned for him as well very soon. something to be worked on. You know what I mean, Joe? I don't forget, man. You know what I mean? You think us cannabis consumers, we forget shit, but we don't, man. I've got screenshots of that conversation, yours too. Fucking what's your, yeah, what's your face, Padraig O'Sullivan. I have conversations there too as well, man, where you allowed me receive a fair lash of abuse up on your post before you ever engaged back with me, and now you're a TD. You're all scumbags, man. You're letting the people down. You're the reason why there's drug dealers out there recruiting kids. And if there's any truth to what that psychiatrist was saying, if there's kids out there as young as 8 using cannabis, well, that's your fault for supporting prohibition, which allows drug dealers to sell drugs to kids as young as 8. And use those same kids to sell drugs to their friends who might be just as young as them. You know what I mean? Like, it's a horrible system that you support out there. You're failures. You're a failure to the people. Like, and you only care about yourselves, but by not engaging with these real issues, you know. So thanks everybody there for tuning in to today's shows, and a nice one for all your comments, guys. And thanks to everybody who's supported the fundraiser as well and shared the campaign to date. Much appreciated, guys. Again, as I said, €756. No small sum, and we're only 5 days in, like the 5th day of the challenge, like, so another 25 days to go. Let's get it up to maybe 4,200 next. That's the next target, 4,200. We'll just keep on aiming high. Oh yes. What's happening out there, guys? I see John Finnegan and Irish as well, guys. Sorry for not being able to read out all your comments, guys. There's just so many of them. Hi Irish is saying, when used for food in capsules, €300 to make my meds for food for 3 weeks. That has to do me. But lately I can't get any without, and without medical attention, a man's got to save himself for his family and kids. Yeah, so there you go. Like, another man out there suffering, like, and a man who has got kids. Cannabis providing him a much better quality of life, which in turn allows him to provide for his kids a much better quality of life, which is good for us as a society, because it's important that parents are able to take care of their kids as best as they can. If cannabis allows them to do that, what the hell is the problem? Why is the government intervening? Like, and that's kind of what Bob Marley was asking there in that video. Like, you know, like, why is it that these people who say they care about us try to prevent us getting access to cannabis and do more harm than in doing so to us, you know? Like, the damage is done by cannabis, like, if any, compared to the damages done by criminalizing a person, locking them up, taking a parent away from their kids, you know, the 3-strike rule there in America, like, the devastation that's done to countless young families out there. How many kids, and a lot of the times it is men who get locked up. So how many kids over there in America, and a lot of the times again in the black communities and the Mexican communities, the Latin communities, how many kids had to grow up without father figures, you know? And without father figures, like, they then fall into the hands of the other kind of the drug gangs, you know, because maybe they were friends of their fathers, but maybe these friends weren't really friends, you know, kind of how that goes. Like, you don't really find out who your friends are until you kind of really need them, or after they're depending on them. So these kids are left at the mercy of them. It's crazy. Like, it's a horrible system that we currently have around drugs and drug use, and it's like, it's not just cannabis users, it's all drugs. There should be no prohibition on the recreational use of drugs, if you will. There should be all supports and services there made available for people, free of any stigma, for their choice of drug. Like, you know, imagine if you got judged because you drank alcohol, or because you smoked tobacco. Like, imagine seeing like a person coming up to you because you're outside the door smoking a cigarette and saying, "Oh my God, you're such a retard! How could you do that to yourself? Like, you're doing damage to yourself. Like, you could get cancer. You could damage your sperm if you're a man, or your eggs if you're a woman, and stuff like this. Like, you know, you don't face that. You don't get that kind of things. But what you do with drug use, look at the shit we had to look at there yesterday as a cannabis community, as cannabis is being pointed out as the gravest threat to the mental health of young people. That's bollocks, man. And 1 in 3 people who use cannabis develop dependence problems. Like, again, more bollocks. Like, would you say a person who drinks coffee daily, like, has a caffeine dependence, or is that a person who just likes coffee? You know, Could you more quite rightly define a person who might drink multiple cups of coffee across the course of a day, and then it has a negative result then because maybe they're not eating as much, you know? Maybe then you could define that as a caffeine dependence. But no, like you can't do that for cannabis. Like, you know, they just define any use of cannabis as a cannabis dependence. Absolute scumbags, man. I see John Finnegan as well as appreciating the banner there. He's saying get more artistic with the banners. Must have some really creative green substance in his bong lately. Yeah, man, it's always a little bit of herbal inspiration there, man, to help me touch my artistic side. Because it certainly needs to be enhanced anyway. Because it's certainly lacking in myself. I'm very I don't know. I don't have an artistic side at all. I'm terrible, man. My kids used to be laughing at me and be wearing black and navy. Apparently, that's a bad thing. Nice one for your comments there as well, guys. I see Mustawes as well out there, and the Reefer Man as well. Cannabis for schizophrenia. Sorry, your comment disappeared there. Geez, there's so many comments flying in. Legalization actually results in fewer underage users. Not an Irish Times subscriber. Exactly. Legalization, regulation works. We look at, say, the recent survey that came out there in relation to the use of tobacco and alcohol by the younger generation. It's decreasing. Why? Because education and regulation works. There's less young people using alcohol and tobacco now at a younger age because regulation and education works. They learn about the dangers of using alcohol at a young age, and less of them are willing to engage in it. And, you know, there is a bit better education out there as well as to the dangers of tobacco use and the addiction. And again, in turn, less young people are getting hooked on tobacco, you know. So at least it's been reflected in some of the surveys there, which shows regulation and education work. Apply that to all the other drugs as well and take away the criminal fucking underworld. Like, you know, there's no need for all this guns and violence there unless it's what you want, unless that's actually an objective of your policies, which you're never going to admit really, is it? Like, because it's certainly a result of your policies. Mr. Scooby-Doo says, keep it up, Martin. Absolutely sterling work you're doing. Nice one, Mr. Scooby-Doo. Pleasure to have you along as always. Who else out there? Mustawa saying besides Church of Cannabis is yeah, what I'm suggesting. Yeah, some comments responding back to each other, and I'm getting a lot of these comments just repeating in, man. Fucking Streamlabs. I'm gonna have to send them a nicely worded email because that's getting annoying now at this stage. I just keep getting a refresh of your comments for some reason, and just like a lot of repeat comments there then again. But Hi Irish is saying out there that social media is their life work. They hate it when we comment bad. Simon Harris nearly started crying because of me. Yeah, man, I can remember actually you were giving him a bit of a hard time, but for right reasons too. Like you were going through some fucking horrible shit at the time. Like you know, I think at the time you were like fucking pooping blood, like which is not something you want to see. I believe it's Crohn's disease that you're suffering with, man. That's no condition really to be fucking to not to be taken seriously, and to prevent access to a plant that can alleviate some of the conditions there. Like shame on anybody who do that to a person like yourself. But yeah, I hope you're getting relief, man. I see that you're saying that you're finding it difficult to get it, but you know, hopefully maybe it's someday you can go down and start just growing your own, and or maybe be hooked up with somebody who is doing it for themselves. But yeah. Other comments out there. Ken Green, he says, nah, hate coffee, Barry's tea boy. Yeah, I'm a morning coffee person. I love it with a big cube of butter and coconut oil and some cacao mushrooms, and yeah, sometimes it's infused butter I get in there as well, and it goes hand in hand in with a nice old bowl of cannabis. Like, you know, it's a nice combination there to get you off the breakfast of champs. Hi Irish is saying I was off cigarettes for 4 years and had to go back on tobacco because it's cheaper to spare the herb that way. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like you see the price of tobacco. Like I can't see how you can justify or prove that it's cheaper to consume with tobacco than without. You get a good vape, you get a good extraction process there, as long as you're following your dosage. Like, follow your dosage, but that's hard to do when you don't have an idea as to the content of what it might be that you're consuming because of the unregulated market. So there is a difficulty there. But I definitely do think it's going to be cheaper to consume it without the tobacco, because once you get the tobacco back in there, you run the risk of getting addicted to it again and consuming that then when you have no cannabis, which isn't good. That's costing you money and you're getting really no relief. You're just feeding a habit. But again, to each their own. Like, that's just my opinion. Like, I just, man, what is it, a box of fags? I'd be buying it there for one of my great uncle, and he's like fucking, he's in the vulnerable group, so I've been kind of going to the shop doing messages and everything for him, but he gets me to pick up his fags, and they're $14.50 for a box of 20 for, what is it, the John Player's no tips or something like that. And $14.50 for a box of 20. Crazy, man, the price of fags these days. Like, I can't understand it, but most of that is tax again, like, because the government, like, they're probably the biggest benefactors of drug dealing, I suppose. Really, if you look at tobacco and alcohol as drug dealing, look at the amount of money they take in from that through taxes. It's huge. You know, but they benefit from it. They tried to say that, like, putting taxes on it, it's for health reasons. It's to try to discourage people from doing it. You've seen Frank Fian there recently putting it out there on the minimum unit pricing. It's just a money grab. It's like the sugar tax. It's a money grab. They know what you want. They know what you need. And they're going to fucking get as much money off you as they can through that then, you know. They know you have to get fuel. What do? Put up the carbon fuel tax. You know what I mean? They don't really give us alternatives, at least not cost-effective alternatives. Not everyone can afford to put fucking solar installations on their house. Not everybody can buy the most newest, up-to-date car that has electric fucking capabilities. Like, you know what I mean? Who gets punished? It's the poor people again. Scumbags, man. These policy makers are fucking scumbags. I can't help it, like, but they really are. I'm going to smoke a bowl there. I'm going to pack up a bowl here. Just, do you know, as Bob Marley says, man, I need to just take that edge off. Ooh, yeah, that's the fat. So, blessings and all of that good stuff to people out there, guys. A little civil disobedience protest here to end the podcast almost. Last few comments there, I'll get through them after this. And I see Fur Grace is out there as well. He says, oh, he's all good and he just sparked up. Hey, nice, man. Hope you're nice and blazed by now. And other comments coming in there as well, guys. Pisces Guitar Channel is saying that Stamets is a very smart man. On about Paul Stamets there, that is. Paul Stamets is the fucking legend. Especially when it comes to mushrooms, like, jeez, like, I love listening to that guy when it comes to mushrooms. He inspired me to try to start up my own business around it, in fairness, like, just how inspirational he was and how motivated and stuff he was, and enthusiastic about mushrooms, and he, that enthusiasm spilled over into me, and it got me interested in him. So again, if you want to go over to martinsworld.ie and check out some of the products that are up there in the store is now online, and I believe you can pay through PayPal. So go check them out if you want. There's Lion's Mane, Reishi, and Cordyceps, and I have them available up there in capsule form. But if you would like to get the raw extract on its own, just pop me a message and I will be able to do that too. I ordered in some fresh batches of the extracts there again recently, as this is something I consume myself daily. I include it in my coffee, I include it in some drinks and foods and stuff like that throughout the day. Again, these mushrooms are amazing, and it's important that you include them in a daily kind of routine in order to maximize the benefits. So do check them out. They're up there on the martinsworld.ie if you want to see them. That's just something that I'm going to try to get going there again over the next while myself, as college graduation is nearing, and I'm going to have to try to get a job. Other comments out there, Shanti Campion says, can you put that banner up there separately so we can download and copy, please? Not a bother at all. Yeah, certainly I'll make that available there once I get offline there in a few minutes, guys. Yeah, not a bother. That I'll put it up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. So do check it out there on all of those platforms. Who else is out there? Mustawa is, oh yeah, you're just replying. I'm just seeing what comments. Cannabis and schizophrenia are linked. Is this something that the standard cannabis smoker really has to worry about? No, not really. Not the standard cannabis consumer. The only person who has to worry about this is a person who has to worry about genetic predispositions to the schizophrenia. So basically, if you've got a family history there, like you've a load of family members who've become schizophrenic at an early age, you know, what studies have shown is like that it might speed up the process, but it hasn't been proven. It's just that there's a link there that people who are likely to develop schizophrenia later on in life tend to maybe develop it earlier on in life because of cannabis use. But there's no real correlation there that cannabis use causes schizophrenia on its own. It's like, no, there has to be multiple factors, other things there in place for it to kind of, you know, you need that perfect storm, if you will. And I see Jack Christian was already saying, missed a few live shows, man. Always catch up in the evening. Good to have you along anyway, nonetheless. Hope all is well out there. Keeping busy. Greg Leopold as well. All good, John. I'm out in Toronto at the moment. Always like to tune into what's happening back in the Rebel County, though. It's great to have you, Greg, man. I'd fucking be interested to hear what's going on over in Toronto, and like if you're partaking in the cannabis industry over there, like what's that like? If you ever wanted to maybe bring me on a little video tour, or if there's anybody over there in any states where it's legal, and if you'd like to bring me on a little video tour of your store, of where you're working, of where you buy your cannabis, I would love to be able to bring that into the audience back here to show people what it looks like over there in a legal regulated industry. So if you can do that, Greg, man, get in touch. Mustawa is as well. He says it was very hush, all right, but he was legit, in fairness to him. And I don't know what that's in relation to. Sorry, guys. I'm just seeing these comments there, and I'm just kind of reading them out as I'm reading them to myself as well. Cash rules everything around me. That's pods. What's happening, pods? Other comments there. The Reefer Man Moore Hemp Museum. This distinction separates what can be used medicinally in many locations, especially where low THC products are legal, but high THC products are not. It's all cannabis hemp, 0.3% delta, 9 THC or less or more than that amount. Schizophrenia is a brain disorder which can influence delusions and hallucinations for the sufferer. The condition also is associated with diagnosed speech, general lack of motivation and issues, and proper thinking patterns. What y'all think proper thinking? Guys. Right, any psilocybin, excuse my son. John Finnegan, there's not, unfortunately. But I see a few companies up there that are offering microdoses. I don't know, man. It might be something that we might offer there up as a form of civil disobedience, if you will. I don't know, I might start putting together Paul Stamets blend. He put together a really good blend there of a vitamin B, vitamin B. It was niacin, yeah, B6, I believe it was, lion's mane, and a microdose of psilocybin, and he kind of justifies all the reasons there, as these things all kind of benefit one another. The B6 helps with the uptake of the psilocybin by dilation of the blood vessels, I think, or something like that he was saying, but it also inhibits abuse of the product then as well, because if you take a load of it, it'll cause fucking flushing or something like that of the body. But then you have the lion's mane, good for nootropics, and the psilocybin, again, good for nootropics, the brain. Again, go back to what Marley said, man. Why is it that the people who claim to want to protect public health and stuff have banned things that are good for us? Like, when they're not abused. Like, I'm not saying these things can't be abused. Everything can be abused. But why is it that some of the most the strongest of medicines, herbal ones, have been banned? Again, going back to ayahuasca, psilocybin, you know, some incredible compounds, like, and we've been denied access to them because of a small few people. It's not the majority. The majority of the public actually would benefit from access to this and would desire access to it. But they're being misled, and they're kept in with the wool over their eyes, if you will, by the people in power and the media. They're doing a fucking stellar job, really, like in leading the sheeple, if you will. But again, like, Bob Marley had faith in the people back in 1979. Slowly over time, things have changed. Look how far America has come. Like, a lot has changed in America. You have, what's his name? Julian Marley, one of Bob Marley's sons, like, has his own cannabis brand now over there in America. Juju Royal, I think it's called. I might try to get him on the show, actually. That would be cool. But he's over there, like, so really, like, things have really come along the way, and it's been people power that has got it here. So again, like, this is what I believe, and hopefully on the 11th of May, guys, you can come and join me in Cork, and we can really fly the flag for Bob Marley and for the cannabis plant, and have a really strong and loud protest down there, and play some good tunes and consume some good herb. Yes. Other comments as well. That sounds brilliant, Martin. It's been too long since I had a dose. Yeah, we'll see what happens there, John. I don't want to be getting my fucking website shut down as well, like, but we'll see, because I see some other companies up there now online doing it. So we'll see what happens. I know PayPal won't be happy, so it might be only paying through Bitcoin. And John O'Regan, he says, "Yo, Martin, thanks for keeping me company while doing the washing. Time for a spliff." Excellent, man. I love doing the washing up, actually, listening to podcasts. It's the exact same thing I do myself. Jack as well saying Damian Marley opened a farm in an unused prison in the States. Yeah, he did too, actually. That's right. Yeah, there's some interesting things been happening over there. It'd be cool to get Damian Marley on the podcast as well, to have a chat with him. But we'll see what happens over time anyway. We'll send the messages out. But guys, look, it's been an hour and almost 20 minutes. So thanks very much to everybody who's after tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be able to bring the show to you. And I look forward to be able to bring more to you on... I'm going to skip Friday, guys. I have to admit, I am overloaded in college work, so I do apologise, guys, to people who love to tune in, and I have a dedicated audience out there, guys. There is an easy 50 of you out there that tune in on the regular now as I go live, and I really appreciate that, guys, and I'm doing my best in order to continue to bring the show to you. But to be very honest, I have procrastinated a little bit too much with the college work, and I've a few too many MCQs to get done now by Friday. So I will need all the time I can get between now and Friday. So I will take a day off on Friday, but I'll try to do something over the weekend for you guys. But I will be back on Monday. I'll have a lot less work to do by Monday. I think I have 9 MCQs to do between now and Friday. But like they'll be easy. They're MCQs. Like, some of them are 20 questions long, and that's the longest there is. Like, so it's nothing too hard. It's just to get through the content in order to be able to answer the MCQs will be the issue. So yeah, I'll be back Monday, guys, with more 420 news, and keep an eye out for some interviews that I'll be releasing there as well over the coming days. So I do look forward to getting them to you as well, guys. So until then, stay blazed out there, guys, and keep her lit. Much love and peace.